15 months of agony and ecstasy comes to a head tonight here in this, the tightest of groups. It's Group 5 action. We're in Rotterdam, Norway, the Czech Republic, and the Dutch battling for the top two positions. And a packed house here tonight, wishing only one side success. A group that began so promisingly for the Norwegians, who've led throughout, but they'll start here as underdogs against a formidable Dutch side under Guus Hiddink. Two changes from the side that brought back a 4-0 success last time out in Malta. In comes Dennis Bergkamp and Glenn Helder in the number 11 shirt. He starts in a very attack-minded side indeed. Patrick Kluivert is suspended, and Yuri Mulder has to make do with a place on the bench. Norway, their last action, we saw that a 0-0 friendly in Oslo against England. They field 4 changes tonight from that lineup as the two captains prepare for the ceremonies in the centre of the pitch. Erik Thorsvedt, their talismanic goalkeeper, is injured, so in comes Frode Grodas, and what a tough test for him this evening, the Norwegian in the number 1 jersey. Mikland is preferred in midfield to Leon Hardson. Erik Mikland in the number 6 shirt, and Erlend Jonsson comes in to bolster the defence. So the Norwegians looking to play on the break. They do, of course, have Jostein Flo. He's back in the starting lineup. And for them this evening, winning his 56th cap, the captain's armband has been given to Middlesbrough's Jan Arge Fjørtoft. So the Norwegians in the change strip this evening in Rotterdam in perfect playing conditions. White shirts and black shorts for Norway, defending inside the first 20 seconds. And the Dutch already looking as if they have a taste for it in the first minute. On the far side with Mark Overmars, the famous orange shirts of that man Guus Hiddink's side. And, well, of course, Rotterdam, England, and some may say Graham Taylor's graveyard 2 years ago. Bergkamp, Overmars, Bergkamp again with the first shot in anger, and it's beaten away by defenders. A wall of white shirts in front of the young keeper. And Grodas, although he was down, the ball never got as far as him. And immediately the professor, Egil Olsen, is up on his feet. So the first shot from Bergkamp brings no reward for the Dutch, but it's they who are first to find the pace of the pitch as they carry the game to Norway. Arthur Newman on this near side has Glenn Helder, but turns the ball back in field. Picking out Richard Witschke. Now Helder can pick it up, and first chance here to test out the fullbacks, but a neat ball inside, and it drifts across the angle, and coming in late at the back post was Dennis Bergkamp, and the keeper looked very undecided indeed. First hint of danger there from Helder as the Norwegian stood off waiting for the run on the outside and slinging in the early ball, and Dennis Bergkamp was just a yard behind the play. And here come the Dutch again, this time Helder coming off his man, and it's hacked away by Bohinen back in a defensive role. In fact, the whole Norwegian side at the moment have their backs to the wall. Picking out Helder once again. Real great opportunity for the Highbury former Vitesse Arnhem favourite, to establish a run in the first team here. Clarence Seedorf, and his first touch just carrying the ball too far forward. The exciting number 8. A host of Ajax men in this Dutch lineup, of course. Flicking the ball around Erlend Jonsson, and the keeper this time was out quickly to gather the ball. But it's all Holland inside the first 20 minutes in Rotterdam. The Dutch had started so nervously here in their last home match against the Belarus. Overmars off balance, but still gets the cross in. Looking for Ronald de Boer. And now it's up to halfway, where Fjørtoft is the lone raider, and tangling with Frank de Boer. Some shirt tugging, and it's a yellow card for Frank de Boer. Well, the Ajax man clearly unhappy with that. Referee this evening is Mr. Gallagher from England. And Lars Bohinen is coming forward to place the free kick as Fjørtoft takes up a position deep in the Dutch penalty area. First time that Olsen's side have been able to threaten, and they are so dangerous on set-piece play, looking for Berg. Henning Berg with the diving header. He scored from a very similar position to that in the first of the two games against the Czech Republic, where in fact Norway were just 5 minutes away from securing qualification. It all seems a long time ago now, back in the summer. Czechs pegged them back with a late equaliser, and they have to do it again here with the in-swinging corner kick Bohinen, and under no threat. In fact, it was Eddie van der Sar who made a bit of a meal of it. Well, can Norway clinch it at the third time of asking? This is their 550th international match in their history, and perhaps no side, certainly in Europe, even in the world, has made such advances up the rankings in the last decade. I wonder if it's about to become a long journey back into night for the Norwegians. Olsen hints that he will retire if they fail to qualify. But at the moment, at 0-0 here in the first half, and Seedorf again on the inside right run. Can he keep that ball in play? And the keeper having to touch it behind for a corner kick. Well, Clarence Seedorf and Glenn Helder on this near side at the moment are proving the real danger men in this first period. Seedorf with an ability to flit between the two central defenders, and Glenn Helder, who looks to have the appetite for beating the fullback on this near side, away by Erlend Jonsson. Good, solid header from him. The Dutch have come out quickly enough, and the Norwegians have their shape again. Here's Bergkamp, showing surprising strength for the number 10, headed back by Overmars, and Berg and Jonsson both going for the same ball, but a corner kick results. There's a suspicion that Norway may just have come to the end of their great run with limited resources. Let's not deny the tremendous achievements that they've managed in progressing to the last World Cup. And it will be a severe blow to national pride, and of course to all the great work put in by Olsen, and that one flashing just wide. From Seedorf seemed to be no danger as the ball came clear from the box. In fact, off the head of Frank de Boer. And then the Norwegians rather casual in coming out there. That goes through Bergkamp's legs as he came back from an offside position. Had that gone home, referee Gallagher would have had a controversial decision to make. But still at 0-0. Grodas has settled down. The Dutch hold the whip hand. But the Norwegians, economical, may just need one goal over the 90 minutes. Helder. Blistering pace from Helder. And he can't deliver the cross. Here's Mikland. Distinctive figure with the long black hair up to halfway. And great play from Fjortoft in the withdrawn centre-forward role. So much work he has to get through, running off the ball, shouldering the burden as the low man up front, and of course no Juninho to prompt him this evening. 29-year-old Jan Åge Fjortoft will run himself into the ground in the cause of Norwegian football here in Rotterdam this evening. Remember, just 1 point for the side in white, and the Dutch, knowing that the Czech Republic tonight against Luxembourg surely will win. There are no betting certainties anymore in football, but that one we'll assume is a foregone conclusion. Will this be the first for Ronnie de Boer? Just wanted one touch too many. Well, he'd beaten Berg once and wanted to do it again, and that was his undoing, because Berg got something on the ball and it ran away agonizingly from the Dutch number 9, Ronald de Boer, and he knows it. There's the anguish in his 20th international. It's been a long road this far, and Hussittig and the whole of Holland hoping that the Netherlands do not fall here at the final hurdle. How comforting had de Boer turned what's been first half superiority in the opening 30 minutes into the opening goal there. Well, Glenn Helder, really the man for the occasion here this evening. And in this first period, they haven't come to grips with him on this near side at all. Björneby is up against Glenn Helder. Lurken on the far side from Norwegian champions Rosenborg Trondheim. Their season's just ended, so he and the other Rosenborg players, there's one of them on the far side, Mini Jakobsen, but ball never reached him. They should be on a high at the moment. Might be a yellow card here. The referee decides that trip on Dennis Bergkamp warrants yellow, and it's Johnny Rickdahl, first player in the book this evening. It's been played in a good spirit considering the tension out there and so much at stake. But once again, they play the ball in over the top there, where both Erlend Jonsson and the fellow defenders are looking quizzically at each other from time to time as to who's picking up these interchanging front runners for the Dutch. Cushion header for Fjortoft. Now here's Mikkelsen breaking through. Keeping Leon Hartson, the Wimbledon man, on the bench this evening. But Egil Olsen has plenty of options in terms of substitutes. And he's picked a side that can play two different formations. If he needs to chase the game, then he has the men on the bench to do just that. That's going to ask too much of Helder this time. And Lurken can feed it back to Groddas. So Lurken's come over to this near side now to try and get a handle on Glenn Helder, who's having the first half to remember here in Rotterdam. The Dutch flags are flying. The Dutch are in the driving seat, but the Norwegians in pole position at the top of the group still having it 0-0. This could break the ice. Oh my goodness me, surely a better finish there from Helder would have had the Dutch on their way. He was free at the back post as the centre came off Berg's head, I think it was, and Glenn Helder just failing to bury the ball there from 8 yards. That's a major let-off for Norway. Well, they came into this group having conceded just 3 goals in the whole campaign. And they were looking absolute certainties in the summer to make the trip to England next June. It all begins at Wembley on the 8th of June and finishes at the end of the month. And now the Norwegians could be going out agonizingly so. 2-0 away to the Czechs last time out, their first defeat. And before that, couldn't wrap up a home win against the same side when they led for much of the game. And as we saw in that rather tepid encounter against Terry Venables' England in Oslo recently, their goals have dried up for Norway at the moment, and it's all come at the wrong time at this, the final stage of qualification. Ronald de Boer guilty of perhaps, along with Helder and Zeedorf, the best chances that the Dutch have created in this first period. Dennis Bergkamp, well, a swivel of the hips needed to power that ball towards goal. Was rather hanging beneath him, came in from Overmars. Overmars' intelligence, looking up, knew exactly where he was aiming that ball, but Bergkamp's run had carried him just too far forward, and there was no momentum to really plant that header with the velocity he needed from that range. Parallel to the 12-yard penalty spot mark, just trying to corkscrew the body to get that one into the top corner and away from keeper Groddas, and the Norwegians have rocked and been stretched, and maybe stretched again here, and Zeedorf not for the first time overrunning the ball when they'd carved through them, and Erlend Jonsson is not happy with the defenders around him. Bergkamp with the layoff, and there was the moment of agony for the young Clarence Zeedorf as he carried the ball too far. But a far more convincing first half, certainly from the faltering performance we saw here last time. The Dutch were at home against Belarus. They had to wait until the 83rd minute to wrap up victory there. And all 4 goals in that away hammering in Malta also came in the second half. A Mark Overmars hat-trick doing the damage there. And despite all the pressure and creating all the gilt-edged chances, as we come to half-time, with this perhaps their last opportunity to make territorial advantage play, it's Norway who will be quite happy to go in holding the scoreline at 0-0. There it is. the whistle from referee Gallagher takes the teams in Rotterdam. And the half-time score here in this Group 5 encounter, it's the Netherlands 0, Norway 0. Summer. Certainly the aim of all the three sides in contention here, Norway, the Czechs and the Dutch, will be to finish in first place, because that rules out any ambiguity whatsoever. But even finishing second, as we pause with the action there, the first of the second half, and the first time really that Van der Sar has been under any sort of pressure, and that cross from Jostein Flo just taking a slight deflection of the defender's legs, and Fjørtoft making sure that Van der Sar knew he was around. First minute of the second half, and not the sort of opening to the second period Hus Hiddink would have wanted. But with all the ifs and buts that surround this qualification process, one incidentally that will be used again for the World Cup in France in '98, well, it certainly has made every match meaningful right down to the wire, and this could be an interesting ricochet for the Dutch. And how about that? If you need a break, then why not? One of that magnitude coming at just the right moment and at just the right period in the game. At the start of the second half, Zeedorf and Holland are off to a flyer. Hiddink is on his feet. The crowd erupts, and Holland go 1-0 ahead. And it's a desperately unlucky ricochet that takes the ball over the helpless Grodas. But nobody here inside the Feyenoord stadium will mind about that. And it's Erlend Jonsson who is the guilty man. The ball cannons into the midriff of Zeedorf, and having missed two simpler chances in the first half with a major assist from the Norwegian defenders, it's Holland here who have the lead. And now Zeedorf is brought quickly back to earth with a yellow card for catching Mikland. Well, the blood's running hot here in the veins of the young Ajax man, and no wonder. Now playing in Serie A with Sampdoria. Another one to graduate from the great Dutch academy. And what a golden goal that could turn out to be. At last, Holland have made the breakthrough, and they're beginning to turn it on, finding men all over the pitch. He is held up. A real revelation in the first half, and this is classic wing play from the Arsenal man. Erlend Jonsson over his own crossbar. Glenn Helder, who's been in and out of favour with Hiddink. Fiery reputation, was substituted in recent games, and then in fact in turn replaced Yuri Mulder in Malta. But tonight he starts, and it's the Norwegians who will make the first substitution of the night. And Mikland, who's just taken a knock on the foot, not sure if that's tactical or otherwise, but it's a straight swap. Busy midfielder for like-minded player Leon Hartson, the Wimbledon man, is on, and Mikland is off. And from the Dutch corner kick, Leon Hartson takes up a position on the far post. Keeper comes but doesn't collect. Erlend Jonsson's in the way, and before he can get back, the ball drilled over the bar by the goal scorer. Well, the breaks when they come along in football have to be taken, and Clarence Zeedorf, playing his trade in Italy, will know that more than many on the pitch, having already spurned a couple of real openings in the first period. Delighted that that ball came back to him off Erlend Jonsson, and enough contact off his body, it balloons over the Norwegian keeper. And now Egil Olsen has to tear up the tactical plan and chase the game. It's something the Norwegians are not comfortable doing, and I'm sure that Leon Hartson's substitution will not be the first for them. They trail here in Rotterdam by a goal to nil. Already showing a little more spirit and adventure, as they have to do at the start of the second half, especially that they've conceded the goal. Good, delicate footwork from Jostein Flo on the far side. But then Amos with the cross and nobody supporting Fjordetov. 2 against 3. Erlend Johnsen. Cruel for him if that goal should prove to be conclusive in dispatching his Norwegian side from the competition. And very quickly it's a second sub. Ståle Solbakken comes on for Lars Berheden, and he hasn't been moving too comfortably either in the last few minutes. Solbakken, who's featured in Olsen's starting lineups before in this Group 5 series of matches. So the Blackburn Rovers man is off. And the Norwegians now, quite out of character for them, whether they like it or not, have to start throwing caution to the winds. Seedorf everywhere at the moment, and does well to thread the ball forward to Overmars. Tries to come in from tight on the touchline, and the Dutch are beginning to play the ball around now with some composure. Reiziger finding keeper Eddie van der Sar, who hasn't made a serious save thus far in the game. And Dutch fans now beginning to purr with delight around the ground, and that's a vital interception from Henningberg. One thing's for sure, the Blackburn man won't give up the ghost until the final whistle. And now there's a break on for the Norwegians. They've 3 up on this attack. First time we've seen that. Trying not to stray offside, but if nobody makes a challenge, then they'll keep going. Well, De Boer giving too much time and space there, and Fjordetov with a cushion header, a free header too. And the Dutch paying the penalty there for backing off. And you see how much time and space Fjordetov had, but he couldn't pick out the top corner. What a let-off for the Dutch, who can't afford to be casual with just the 1 goal cushion. Too much at stake. Away by Frank de Boer. Picked up by Seedorf. Looking in the way. Here's Rikdal. Can they keep it in? Jakobsen has been subdued. Not so this man. 2 against 1. Is this the Norwegian death knell coming up now? Surely this could be number 2, and it is. And it's the substitute Yuri Mulder. And he won't score a more valuable and a more appreciated goal in the Dutch national jersey. The fans here in Rotterdam raised the roof. And now with just minutes remaining, surely the Dutch are on the way. They can light the fires of celebration. They lead Norway by 2 goals to 0, and the Norwegians pushed forward as they had to do. The long ball out of defence, picking out Overmars. Yuri Mulder keeps his head, draws the keeper, and buries the shot into the corner. And now with just 3 minutes remaining, there surely is no way back for the Norwegian side, who had all but booked their passage. At no stage have they been outside the top position in Group 5 until this one, when it mattered. And the Dutch currently 3rd. We hear that the Czech Republic are beating Luxembourg, and it could turn into a rout, and it does with number 3, Overmars solo. And that is it. Conclusive proof that Hus Hiddink has a side to take on the best in Europe next June in England. Well, are we being premature? Still all the results to garner in from this magical night of excitement here in the final round of qualification. And when we have all those results in, perhaps even with this 3-0 scoreline, it may not be enough for the Dutch. Their record against other sides in this group will come into the configuration. Also, what has been happening elsewhere. Nothing can take away the result here this evening. 3-0 to Holland here, the final score. Well, confirmation there as it came here. The final standings, the Czech Republic qualify as outright winners of Group